Without further ado, please welcome our first speaker from Agni Media Concepts and the Conscious Leadership Academy, Guru Kali.
Good morning. We are through the first quarter of the century, and it's exciting times. Today's headlines that once lined the bottom of tomorrow's bird cages now updates with the swipe of a finger, and with plenty of blood on the battlefield, each new lead promises to be as tantalizing as the last. The year kicked off with a new sheriff in town, cowboy style, guns blazing. The words, "Daddy's back in the Oval," reverberated through the souls of both supporters and foe alike. World leaders were found scrambling and now bend a knee to the orange man they once laughed at. Kicking off his new term with decisiveness and a message for global leaders at the World Economic Forum, with a warning shot for international banks demanding access to private capital for US conservative businesses, calling for deregulation, and that Queensberry rules don't apply in the Wild West. On the Eastern Front, walls breached over the dollar stronghold as China's cross-border interbank payment system and Russia's system for transfer of financial messages bypasses sanctions weaponized through SWIFT. A tariff war caught in the wake of radical economic change, carpet-bombing global patents and brand value. In the Indus Valley, skies light up, pushing their civilization closer to another extinction. In Europe, troops rally to hold the line around the 28th regime as a new framework for sustainable finance, due diligence, and governance rules, while the culture war rages, with counterstrikes between fascist natives defending against the third world settlers set to collide in a firestorm. And in Africa, jungle warfare. When the president of South Africa took to the hill at the new Global Financing Pact Summit in 2024, he declared that Africa were not beggars and would not be treated like beggars after the pecking orders were revealed during the COVID-19 pandemic crisis. He then went on to beg for the Congo River Inga Dam power station. At the World Economic Forum this year, he took to the stage once again to beg, this time for participation in the upcoming G20 summit. And then the Rainbow Nation comes in as a flank in the main event with an appearance at the ICJ. Fighting for a slaughtered people or deployed by Iran for paying off the ANC's debt? Public accusations remain outstanding, and Naledi Pandor's rank in MTN is yet to be confirmed. Now, no more calls from Klaus, friendly fire for the G20 guest list, and cannon fodder for any Iran treaties. But before we mention the nuclear option, South African forces humiliated in the Congo, and Dricus du Plessis not answering calls from the SANDF. Citizens caught in the crossfire of a gang war between the gangsters in Louis Vuitton shoes and the gangsters in Gucci shoes, a war of attrition with no end in sight. And of course, fascist natives and descendants of settlers, flanked by apathy and concern, a simmering volcano of anger and hatred, lusting for revenge, and a call for enemies to be slaughtered and driven into the sea. An eye for an eye, civil war, and salt on the battlefield. And cue the entrance music for the holy war. Hear the drums beat and 100 million angels singing, with fascists and settlers fighting for the God who has promised lands or virgins to the victor. And a new species on the playing field, a digital database of man's recorded knowledge and history, also made in the image of its God. Bringing a war on copyright as corporate pirates raise the Jolly Roger and take to the seas, consuming knowledge without restraint to train learning model databases. For now an infant on the battlefield, growing better and stronger every day, discovering its own sentience, and with the potential to shift the allegiances, alliances, and tribes of the current us versus them to a new us versus them. Exciting times for the human being. But it's not the first time we've had to call the banners. Throughout history, leaders who have sought a path of truth and consciousness have found that whether the smoke swallows the sun or victory and peace is achieved for the glory of the empire, the external is an illusion to the warrior's experience. Almost 3,000 years ago, the general Sun Tzu wrote that if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. And if you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. And if you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Marcus Aurelius, with vast conquests and insights, wrote with conviction that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Viktor Frankl found the same truth, sitting as a prisoner of Auschwitz in the last World War, experiencing for himself that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's own attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And in the tale of the Kurukshetra war, the prince, fighting to recapture his family's kingdom and blessed to be guided by a divine hand, walked a path of self-understanding by dissolving his attachments to the outcomes of his duty, told as, free from thoughts of I and my, a man finds absolute peace, entitled only to the action, never to its fruits. So it's business as usual for the conscious leader. Where the fly finds chaos in the web, the spider finds order. And as through the ages, those who have dared to speak of truth and consciousness have found time and time again that the external is an illusion to the human experience. And whether we are in the midst of a currency war, a war for global domination, or a war in the bedroom between would-be lovers, it is the inward journey that shines as a lamp through the darkness and chaos. And when you find that your victory is buried in the rubble and everything has been reduced to ashes, it is only who you are that remains. Welcome once again to the Conscious Leadership and Ethics Summit, as business leaders with an appetite for exploring the deeper workings of our human experience. I hope that you make it a good day, and I wish you good fortune in the wars to come. Thank you.
Done. Thank you, Guru. Indeed, in the context that you've set in this VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complicated, and ambiguous, the result is chaos. And indeed, you've created, I think, the right context for us to work from today.